It's been about 2 months since the Kraut saga took place, and since that time, a new phenomena has swept over YouTube, drawing in brand new audiences and creating hype for something that wasn't really seen before. It's a sort of phenomena that can lead to Tariq Nasheed telling people that his dick is a weapon of mass destruction.
Black people, we have the genetic capacity to annihilate the entire planet sexually.
Or getting Sargon of Akkad to call people niggers.
You act like enough times now. Maybe you're just acting like a nigger, mate. Have you considered that? Do you think white people act like this?
Or lead to a conversation with the SPLC on whether or not you're banned from Israel.
Was I talking to you just a second ago? My phone just disconnected.
I don't know, sir. I've had 10 calls. What were you needing?
Oh, I was just wondering. I was just on your website, and I was just wondering because there was a few people who I was concerned on your page there. You posted some articles. I was wondering if you're put onto on your website. Are you banned from Israel?
It's a sort of thing that's led to the hard-hitting questions we've all wanted answers to finally being asked. Ask her about the Proud Boy she blackmailed into eating her pussy, which said it smelled like wet bread. Not making this up either. It was a guy she recorded saying racial jokes and threatened to release him if he didn't go on a date with her. So, two questions. One, did that happen? And two, does your pussy smell like wet bread? And let's not forget about elite pig semen.
What are your thoughts on elite pig semen?
Elite pig semen. Elite pig semen.
Internet Bloodsports. That's the moniker, that's the title that's been laid down at its feet. And unlike the name, it doesn't actually involve armed combat. Well, usually.
Halsey, if you want to start on Israel, I gotta warn you, is this a path you want to go down? Is this something you really wanted to do? You really want to start?
Settle down. Settle down.
It's a format, an outgrowth of the typical YouTube streams that have existed for a long, long time. Instead of the erudite, pedantic, highbrow intellectual debate between two opposing forces who bore you to sleep and act like a living version of Ambien, Internet Bloodsports instead seeks to entertain you. It is the Jerry Springer of YouTube content. And much like Jerry Springer, there is a vast audience for it that likes to interact with it.
All right, my comment is for the little midget with the basement tattoos. Why did you go from Snow White over here to Sideshow Bob? Like, what?
But along with its rise to popularity, along with the people that host these sorts of streams and the audience that comes to watch it, criticism has come along with it. More and more people are speaking out against Internet Bloodsport, saying how terrible this is, how we need to go back and have a little bit more decorum. We need to respect each other. What we're doing is wrong here. And I just wanted to take the time to address those retarded arguments, because I love a good shit show. In fact, I'm going to guess the majority of people on the internet, hell, in the world, like to watch a fucking flaming pile of garbage. We enjoy a train wreck. That sort of mentality is reflected in the content we consume. It's reflected in content sites that exist. Look at LiveLeaks. Look at World Star Hip Hop. All you need to do is browse through the videos to get a very good idea of what people are showing up to watch. Even YouTube itself, with the heavy-handed censorship we've seen grow for the last year, still is host to a ton of content that is just bottom-of-the-barrel stuff. And that is, quite frankly, the entertaining kind of content that people like to zone out to. We've seen the trends come and go. We've seen the rise and fall of different kinds of genres that content creators put out. The anti-theism videos, the anti-atheism videos, the anti-SJW videos, the live reaction videos, the Let's Plays. There have been a myriad of different types of content that have had their moment in the sun. And now something new is emerging. It's not heavily defined. There aren't really boundaries or barriers that neatly pack it in for you. It's more of a gut feeling, a visceral reaction when you're taking part in it, when you're watching it, when you're zoning out to it. If somebody asks you to describe it, the easiest way to do it would be a bunch of people spurging the fuck out. And there's nothing wrong with that. And part of my reason for wanting to address these criticisms is to nail that point home, because it feels like I have to actually step out here and explain to people it's okay to watch stuff that's just meant for fun. Not everything that exists in the world needs to have a fucking purpose. Not everything that is done on the internet needs to lead to some grand result. So let's take a look at some of the variations of criticisms that have been leveled against the people that are hosting it. Now, among these, 3 of the main channels that have really popped up to promote this would be Andy Worski with The Worski Show, Tonkasa with The Morning Kumite, and Baked Alaska with the Baked Alaska Show. These are three different individuals. Their channels are hosting this as a format to go forward with, and it's been met with a very positive reaction from the audience. But let's take a closer look at the people that don't like it. Let's see the evolution of their criticism. Now, IBS started off with one hell of a bang, and you can really thank Kraut and T for that. His little 24-hour op Discord server that targeted people on the right side politically, targeted the alt-right and the race realists, created a kind of fervor and interest in hearing the debate between a race realist and somebody that disagreed with it. And one of the very first Bloodsports ended up becoming a wildly popular stream. It was #1 on YouTube while it was live. It had about 11 to 12,000 people watching it. And it was between Richard Spencer, somebody that advocates for a white ethno-state, and Sargon of Akkad and Styx Hexenhammer, people who don't.
No, Richard, it's obvious to everyone you don't understand what I'm saying. It's really obvious.
No, it
Your
isn't.
long pauses.
Sargon.
It's not. Just come on, man. Stop trying to be a dick.
Sargon, I am
Really
sorry. You're going to
watch
find this insulting. You think that you are more intelligent than you are.
This stream began a bit of a trend. More and more people kept coming on to discuss the race realism issue. And with it, the criticisms started to pour in. Andy Worski is platforming white supremacists. Andy Worski is not doing enough to counter the messages that are being presented. Andy Worski is softballing people with this opinion and not offering a hard counter-argument. Remarkably, the people that like to complain about it, the people that like to say that Andy Worski wasn't bringing on good enough guests to counteract those that were advocating for a white ethno-state or talking about race realism, were the same ones that were denying or refusing to come on and discuss it themselves. Never actually engaging, never giving that hard counter-argument that they were advocating for themselves. They didn't want to actually go on the show. They came up with a myriad of excuses as to why they didn't want to do it, but they didn't do it nonetheless. And that sentiment began to spread. It spread so much that Andy Worski, a guy just looking to host debates, who wanted to show the internet a good shit show, who wanted to put on a good internet blood sport for the audience to enjoy, it led to people asking for him to be put on the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center's Hate Watch.
Andy Worski is a person that should be of interest to all hate watch groups, such as the Southern Poverty Law Center, and basically anti-hate groups, anti-fascist groups, and anti-racist groups worldwide.
And remarkably, as insane as that sounds, as insane as it sounds to put Andy Worski on the fucking Hate Watch, he ended up there. That's an artist representation of the actual article, but believe it or not, Andy Worski ended up on the SPLC Hate Watch list. That's what led to him calling them up to see if he was banned from Israel. Because, you know, once you get put on that list, you can't set foot in Israel.
But they're still allowed in Israel.
They are still allowed in Israel. Sir, we have no jurisdiction of Israel. We're in the United States. If Israel doesn't want those people over there, we have no jurisdiction over that.
But it's not just that Worski or Baked Alaska or Tonka Saw is platforming these evil neo-Nazis without any good opposition, or that he deserves to be or they deserve to be up on the hate watch for doing so. Their audience is toxic. Are you fucking kidding me, Mouthy Buddha? Look at these comments. This poor woman is being harassed. We need to have a conversation about internet etiquette. Some people made some poo in the loo jokes, said some horrible things. Everybody, we need to take a time out. Mean things are being said on the internet, and it's all Andy Worski's fault. Oh sure, I'll backpedal later on and say that could have applied to anybody, but I'm going to single him out because it's the popular thing to do. Maybe Mouthy Buddha fell off a turnip truck yesterday. I don't fucking know. But my experience with the internet has always been that comment sections in general are full of people talking shit. I don't think that's a relatively new phenomena. I don't think that's something that just started up with internet Bloodsports. I think people have been shit-talking on live streams and in YouTube comment sections for a decade now. I think that's a pretty fucking consistent thing on the internet. So get the fuck out of here with that shit. Here's another common sentiment I've seen expressed repeatedly by different people, but the quartering pretty much says it outright.
But like anything new, it has a very long way to go in terms of being anything useful long term.
What do you mean long-term useful? There's nothing fucking useful here. This is entertainment. That's like going up to Maury Povich and saying, hey, could we put the paternity test down, Maury? We need to talk about fossil fuels and the environment. Maury, your show needs to be useful long term. What the fuck are you talking about? This is popcorn entertainment. People are coming to watch a shit show. They want to watch two people argue with each other. They want to get involved in shit talk in the comments. They want to have a little bit of fun. There is no long-term useful to this. It never set itself to that goal in the first place. I don't remember Andy Worski, Baked Alaska, or Tonkasa, the people actually doing this, saying, hey, we have a long-term goal of being useful. From what I understand, they've all said we want to be entertaining. Now, one of the other criticisms that's really grown out of internet blood sports relates to the audience. Now, anybody familiar with Shock Jock Radio, Morning Zoo Radio, is familiar with this component of it. If you look at Opie and Anthony, what do you have? Well, you've got the pest. You've got a group of people that like to watch the show, like to interact with it, and like to fuck around. They like to troll. That's part of the appeal of it. That's part of what draws them in. It's the participation that's the real hook. But certain individuals, certain individualists, don't seem to get that. They are taking the wrong approach to what they're seeing transpire and assigning all sorts of different motivations to it. Now, I can't deny that there is an overlap, that there is a political overlap due to the audience that's been drawn in with the initial show. But what you'll find when you really watch one of these streams, when you watch different participants bitching at each other about whatever the topic may be, is that in general, the audience, the people in the chat, the people talking about it on social media or on various websites, are looking to have a laugh. They want to troll a little bit. They want to have a little bit of fun and fuck with people that are on the show, much like the pests would with O&A. But certain guests, they're real human beings, all right. They demand a little respect.
I'm just not in the mood to deal with this kind of disrespect. And I know it sounds like, oh my God, he's demanding respect. But yeah, to be honest with you, do you not think that, like, we should have a level of decorum in interpersonal interactions? And it's like, the internet is bullying me. I'm not saying you're bullying me. I'm saying there's just no point dealing with this kind of attitude. Is it? I know it's called trolling. Jesus Christ! It's just like, you understand that I'm a person, don't you?
She is somehow the victim. Pause. Do you not understand the irony of we're talking about people labeling themselves as victims, and you are labeling yourself as victim?
God, you know, this reminds me of something. It reminds me of someone. It's on the tip of my tongue. I don't know. I mean, I know there's that horseshoe theory that says the alt-right and the SJWs are the same thing, but maybe that horseshoe should be readjusted. Maybe we need to face it in a different direction. Maybe something else is acting like an SJW in this particular instance, and not coping with the banter too well. It's actually escalated to the point where certain participants are now viewing boards that were dedicated to fucking with autism and exceptional individuals online, and are convinced that it is a politically motivated attack.
Because you can see how pissed off some of the people in this chat are. And they were spamming this link in the comment section over and over. This was going on. And as the debate was taking place, they were commenting. And people keep asking me, it's like, what proof do I have that the white nationalists have shown pictures of my mother? And this is like the conundrum that I guess Mike Enoch has to answer for, right? He says there's a lot of white supremacists in America. It's like, it's filled with them. Filled, I say. But every time I point to people like this, everyone's like, oh no, they're not really alt-right. How can you say? No, they're clearly they're clearly liberals. They're minorities that are going after me. They're it's almost like Islam, right?
For those of you unfamiliar with what the cow board on 8chan is, it's a place that gathers together really special individuals with really special interests, and then they assign a thread to it and talk about it. You'll find all sorts of things there. I've used information from 8chan before when I've done videos. It's just a good repository. It's like an Encyclopedia Dramatica or a 4chan or a Kiwi Farms. You will find a lot of information gathered about exceptional shit happening on the internet. But certain people are convinced that this haven of autism, this scientific lab of Asperger's, is some alt-right super Republican group dedicated towards going after their new political ideology, which I love to get in depth about what liberalismism is with you right now, but that'll have to be another video for a different day. However, what really takes a cake out of all the criticism we've seen from you're not doing a good enough job to get the guests we want to have on, you're not setting up long-term goals, your audience is toxic, your audience is politically motivated, they're saying mean things about me. The real cherry on the shit sundae, so to speak, would be recent comments related to a school shooting. Now, I know you're probably asking yourself, how the fuck could people shit talking on a YouTube stream be in any way related to a school shooting? Well, I want you to turn your fucking brain off for a minute, and let's get into the mindset of the idiots that are tweeting about that. Now, for those unfamiliar, there was a school shooting that took place down in Florida. A lot of people died, and the individual, a gentleman named Cruz, clearly a white supremacist, ended up shooting a lot of people. Now, that headline you're seeing there from the Drudge Report had to be altered a little bit. Most news reports had to be altered a little bit because, what do you know? 4chan and other groups that like to fuck with people online fucked with journalists and convinced them that this gentleman was a part of a neo-Nazi white supremacist organization when, oops, looks like he fucking wasn't. So what's the updated story on Cruz? Well, he was a racist. That is true. CNN goes into a little more detail about this Jewish man with the Cuban name killing people for the white ethno-state. You can figure that story out on your own. But this event takes place, and all of a sudden, some interesting tweets start coming up. Well, when I say interesting, I mean pants on head fucking retarded. So let's take a look. According to the AP, the leader of the white nationalist militia says Florida school shooter Nicholas Cruz was a member of his group. But let's keep helping these pieces of shit spread their ideologies. Who does it hurt? Bloodsports are awesome. Right, guys? That would be Dusty Smith, also known as Cult of Dusty, a man with a stick perpetually stuck up his ass. He calls himself a comedian, but I haven't heard a joke out of him in at least a year. Unless you count this tweet, in which case it's a great impersonation of a retard, and he really should go to the Yuck Hut on Sunday nights and show people that he's got the talent to go far with it. Here's another one from Jeff Holiday, uh-oh.jpg. I can think of a couple streamers right now who might be needing to rethink their fucking priorities. Good thing the internet always forgets, right guys? This couldn't possibly blow up in your face, right guys? A little bit of, irony there, as this tweet blew up in Jeff's face and he was forced to delete it when he looked like a complete fucking asshat when the story he was quoting turned out to be false. But you are right, Jeff. The internet never forgets. And then, of course, Mundane Matt. I'm a gross person for suggesting that people be more careful with how they speak online. Yes, that logic makes 100% sense. Please tell me more. I'm here to learn at your feet. Please teach me, your humble servant, the ways of you. That tweet being a piece of a larger conversation Matt was having with a host of the Bloodsports streams, Tonkasaw, on Twitter. Now, how ridiculous is that? How ridiculous is it to take popcorn entertainment on the internet, where people come online and they shit-talk each other for your amusement, and then try to somehow tie that into a fucking school shooting in Florida? To try to say that Andy Worski or Baked Alaska or Tonkasaw is somehow responsible for a psychopath shooting up a school because they hosted shitposting on YouTube. How out of your fucking mind do you need to be to really think that there's a connection between that? That the goods you consume will influence your behavior. I've heard that argument before. I've heard that in video games. We need to get rid of these violent video games. People are going to kill people. We need to censor this media, this music, and these movies and this television show because it's putting ideas, it's putting concepts in the heads of children, and they're going to go out and do horrible things. It's soccer mom hysteria. But hey, you know what? Maybe that's just me. I am a guy that's very simple. I like to watch things that entertain me. I know it's a horrible, horrible idea. Not all the things I watch and consume or participate in have some grand goal ahead of them. Sometimes I like to sit on my dumb ass and watch something that will entertain me for 2 hours. I know it's weird. It's probably unique to me. I'm sure nobody out in the audience feels the same way. Oh, you know what? Scratch that. It looks like people in the audience do feel the same way. When you look at the metrics of these people's channels, you can see that IBS has caught the eye of quite a few people. It's reversed trends on channels that were in a decline and increased growth on channels that were relatively stable for a long period of time. You know what? Maybe the confusion here is the mindset people are going into this with. They're expecting debates. They're expecting highbrow intellectual engagement with one another. They're looking for sports. But you gotta remember, IBS, that's fucking sports entertainment.
You can't break me down. I got gas in the tank.